Hi, my name is Kirk Hamilton, your host of the Staying Healthy Today show. This is a show where we bring you topics and sometimes key experts in the fields of nutrition prevention, integrative and lifestyle medicine, not just for the individual, but for society and the world. And today is kind of a challenging day to be thinking about the individual and new research, maybe in a repurposed drug in cancer or an interesting case study or nutrients in Alzheimer's disease that may help slower prevent the condition, um, and all the different topics that you deal with on a daily basis, looking at an individual patient across the desk or exam table from you. Because as we speak, the world is on the brink of nuclear war. Union of Concerned Scientists have the clock as closest to 12 as it's ever been. We have Israel and Iran exchanging missiles. We had some pretty violent protests in the United States, and they may break out tomorrow. And over 1,500 or 2,000 different protests are scheduled. We'll see what happens. And so the topic really that I wanted to talk about was the gift of COVID and how, we were lucky to get COVID. And the reason I say that is because society in the world, and I know I come from the United States, kind of sleepwalking with regards to uh, mass censorship and our freedoms. But we got a wake up call with COVID. When COVID came, there was significant censorship. I remember trying to learn about COVID, and I would see a physician on YouTube, treat early COVID, and I'd be excited, and then I'd go back, and the video was gone. And so it didn't take a long time to find out that there was censorship going on, and Twitter was, not free at that time, and Facebook and YouTube and all the channels, they just wouldn't mention anything about different ways to look at COVID. And so I think that micro um, lesson or shock that we got as people tried to struggle from different political persuasions of how do we treat an individual, how do we treat society with COVID, how do we prevent it, and what are these vaccines all about? And I think as we did that, people from both sides, different political parties, kind of came together because they realized that they were censored, and that even though they might have different political ideas before COVID, they had more commonality than they thought. And the commonality was is that they were using their great intelligence and experience. Many of the practitioners I learned how to, studied studied to learn how to treat COVID or other aspects. They came from all different persuasions. So I think that we began to, as a society, realize how censored we were and how possibly controlled we were, and maybe there was some kind of world force, you know, whether it be the World Economic Forum, whether it be the political elites, whether it be bankers, whatever, that are trying to control us and put us in a box. And you can tell that from the United Nations, the treaty that tried to get us to the United States to sign in other countries that would so we would have to respond in one particular way to a pandemic. I mean, so all of a sudden, I think the veil was lifted. That there was a great plan by somebody or some bodies to really control the world society. And that's the way I look at it. And the more you get into it, you try not to get into conspiracies, but then the more you see, and the more you see very intelligent people who are very traditional from both sides of the aisle coming up with the same answers, the more you realize that this is real. And I think that plays into the politics of war. So war, if I'm going to be a preventive health physician ultimately or practitioner, um, you know, I remember the days back when I was with Physicians for Social Responsibility, way, 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 way back, probably 40 years ago. And nuclear war was a big issue there, and during the Reagan administration, and Helen Collicott and her powerful lectures on the devastation of nuclear war. And here we are again, 40 years later. And so sometimes it's hard to talk about the things that are in my newsletter, because right now we're on the brink of, we've had the Ukraine war, and Russian war. It's it's probably created, uh, not for what it is, but because certain powers that be are making money and have a certain goal, a geopolitical goal, versus what we are being told. So I think I just wanted to share that, because sometimes it's very hard to get into detail. And how do we collectively change? Well, I think one thing I would love to see as an American, and I would love to see President Trump stop saying this is not his war. It didn't start with him, but that he literally have a meeting with Putin and fly over there, mano a mano, face to face, and just say stop. If America stopped supplying Ukraine, and then all the secondary partners, CIA and all the intelligent apparatus that keeps going without the president's knowledge. But if we stopped, that war would stop, because we've been lied to about that. And so I would like to see him do that. Stop right away, give the world a breath. And that could be done. But mano a mano, not sending anybody anymore, just fly out, they meet. And also, here's where he could talk to Putin about Iran and Israel. Who runs us? Is it Israel running us, or we run Israel? Debate rages. I think that's the hardest one. But all I know is that we've been in wars, and we've been supporting Israel in wars that have been intentionally stated as goals for, I don't know, 30 years, 40 years. And so Putin could help maybe calm down the situation from the Iranian side, and we could get some kind of settling down from the Israel side, and maybe we could stop this before it goes on, because it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what vitamin or mineral we give or repurposed drug we give, or I recommend, if the world is going to destroy itself, or major parts of it, or get into a conflagration that could last, I don't think, well, years. So that is my image. That is my prayer. President Reagan hops on, and President Reagan, it's funny. It's really funny, because I was put in jail for civil disobedience a long time ago, protesting nuclear weapons under the Reagan administration. But I will say this: everything that we did back in the peace movement then was peaceful. When we got arrested, the police knew about it. Nothing like the violence that's here, that's instigated. Pallets of bricks down, mass dumped out of vans in sight, radio transmitters out of backpacks. I mean, I saw that all in LA. This has been paid for, and it's planned, probably from countries that don't like us, and also from individual groups within the United States that don't like us. So I also believe that everything is energy and frequency. So we live in a three-dimensional world. We see everything under the speed of light. But the truth is that electrons, go around the atom, and they're really wavelengths. So everything that is created in that way. And if our thoughts and emotions are in fear, that's what we're going to create. I really believe that. In my colon cancer journey, I could have blamed it on getting 2 vaccines, COVID vaccines. I could blame it on, I switched to a really cruddy diet from a plant-based diet for a long time. I went to a more meat, fat, and sugar diet. I could have blamed it that and the stressors I had at the particular time, but no, I don't believe that. I believe it was what I created in my mind that created the energy and frequency that created the cancer. Some people believe that's baloney. But I think everything, a thought and emotion, is really energy and frequency. And if we have those not controlled, like we live in fear or we have to fight all the time. So one of my challenges is that I'm a kind of an information junkie. But I need to turn my mind on, and I have this vision of Putin and um, Trump sitting down and talking and solving the Ukraine war first, stopping, and then getting a ceasefire and stopping in the Iran-Israel conflict. And the emotion I would have in that. So the key is, and this is the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, it's not just to image the picture, it's image the emotion, to hold on to that emotion, because that emotion is energy and frequency. And for me, that would be joy, relief. I have grandchildren. I worry about their world, but I'm going to image a successful cessation. And if collectively we did it, 8 billion people, it would happen. So in this newsletter, I'm going to talk about that. I have links to that. But we have links to the normal vaccine injury. We have the great by RFK of getting rid of the vaccine board and having a whole totally new one. In this newsletter, we have nutrients and Alzheimer's disease. I'm just kind of flipping through my printout. We have bioterrorism, the University of Michigan, some Chinese students bringing in some biologic products, ivermectin and fibromyalgia. We've got ivermectin and fenbendazole and cancer. There's a lot of data. There's a lot of case studies on that I like to report on. But fibromyalgia and ivermectin, I'm actually using ivermectin, 1.8% ointment that I got at a veterinary shop on a little mole right here, and we'll see if it works. Vaccine safety. We just need studies. We need some logic. There's never been, every time I hear this, there's never been a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial with vaccine safety. And that means the placebo was inert, just water. Usually vaccines are compared to a former vaccine. So we'll leave that up to RFK, and hopefully you can get that done. I also, the myocarditis and vaccine, COVID vaccine, the Senate meeting where Dr. Peter McCullough spoke so eloquently. I think his 10 minutes or whatever it was should be viewed by everybody. And really, there's a show called Information Wars, but truthfully, I think all of us have lost friends, family members, because they believe a different way. But I believe most of these people, the personal people I know of who've, don't associate with as much anymore, whatever, for whatever reason, that if they saw what I saw, and so information to me is probably the greatest suppression, is probably the greatest evil. When I see the social media sites, when they blocked in cahoots with big pharma and the government, that to me is an evil. And when they say a narrative that I know is not true, or I look at my feed and my feed, I go, that's not true. I'm hearing this over here, and I can see it with my own two eyes. It's like in the riots. There was a newscaster that said, people are having a good time watching a car burn, and it's like, I think it was an ABC person, or we had during the George Floyd riots, we had a newscaster saying a peaceful protest, and there's buildings burning right behind her. So truth is very important. And some of the people that I like to on Substacks is Michael's letter. If you want to learn about mass migration and it's intentional really to destroy countries. He's a former Green Beret Special Forces person, and he's combat correspondent, and it's Michael's letter on Substack. Outstanding. If you want to hear, especially from down south in the Darien Gap between Colombia and Panama. But he's a worldwide expert on intentional migration and how to solve the problem. There's many other good ones. Focal Point. I think Focal Point's very good on Substack. Dr. Peter McCullough and his group, Nick Hosier, and Mr. Leake, they're outstanding in their writings. And then the William Mackis, the radiation oncologist, who has done a great job in giving case studies of people who've been helped with repurposed drugs. So, and then another hero is Naomi Wolf. You know, Naomi Wolf was a very liberal feminist on the other side of the left side. And wow, she has done some phenomenal work on the Pfizer vaccine and the buried information there about how harmful it is. Just tremendous. And she had to be open, and now she talks from a more conservative point of view, or what would be perceived as that. And she just saw the truth, and she responds to it. And she's very powerful in her speaking about this issue of the government censorship and government takeover that I think is trying to be dealt with in the United States. So I know that's a mix of might be politics and health, but it's really all health. If we blow ourselves up, if we have chronic wars, we're going to be a sick population, no matter how many vitamins and minerals we take or repurposed drugs we take. So my name is Kirk Hamilton. I hope you enjoy the information below. I hope you get some sense of something helps you in this conversation. And I'll talk to you soon, and you have a great day.